You're sitting there, too, phone in your hand, scrolling, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. Yesterday she said she loved you. Today, she's cold as ice. She demands respect, but undermines you every chance she gets. She says she wants a man who leads, then fights you every time you take the lead. You're not crazy. You're just dealing with someone who's fundamentally broken. Let me tell you exactly when it's time to walk away, and why staying will destroy you. The first red flag most men miss is the fatherless upbringing pattern. Now, let's be clear. Not every woman without a strong father figure is damaged. But there is a pattern you need to recognize. When someone grows up without masculine stability, they often develop this unconscious need to control everything. It's not about ego. It's about safety. To them, vulnerability feels like danger. So they fight for dominance in every interaction. I had a client once. His girlfriend was raised by a single mother. Every time he made a decision, where to eat, what movie to watch, how to spend the weekend, she'd challenge it. Not because she disagreed, but because letting him lead triggered something deep inside her. She'd literally say, "Be a man," while simultaneously crushing every attempt at leadership he made. That's not a relationship. That's a power struggle disguised as love. Here's the thing about power struggles. They're exhausting. They're pointless. Some people want the aesthetic of having a strong partner, while still maintaining complete control. They'll say, "I want a real man who takes charge." But the moment you take charge, they rebel. It's hypocrisy at its finest. They want verbal respect without behavioral respect. They want you to look like a leader, while they hold all the power. The equality conversation? Completely distorted. Equality should mean cooperation, two people building together toward a shared goal. But for some, it's become competition. Who makes more money? Who does more housework? Who sacrificed more? Instead of building together, you're keeping score. When equality turns into rebellion against masculine leadership, the emotional connection dies. I see it all the time. Career-driven people who can't switch it off at home. They're CEOs at work and want to be CEOs in their relationship too. Professional achievement becomes armor against intimacy. They'll skip date night for a meeting, then wonder why the connection is gone. Success at work doesn't mean success in love, but some people never learn that. Then there's the inconsistency pattern.
Monday, they love you.
Tuesday, they're distant. Wednesday, they want to move in. Thursday, they need space. That's not relationship uncertainty. That's emotional chaos. Their words change with their moods, and their moods change with the wind. You can't build something stable with someone whose foundation is always shifting. Here's a mistake I see constantly. The man reaches out after a breakup or fight. The moment you do that, you lose your power. Because when someone walks away and you chase, you're saying their presence is worth more than your dignity. Attraction requires respect, and nobody respects someone they can walk all over. In toxic dynamics, the person who cares less controls more. It's not how it should be, but it's how it is. And the double standards? They'll drive you insane. You're 5 minutes late, disrespectful. They're an hour late. You're controlling for even mentioning it. You forget something, they say you don't care. They forget, and it's somehow your fault. It's a game. Rules only apply to you, and they change whenever it's convenient. Some people don't communicate. They litigate. Every conversation becomes a courtroom. They twist words, drag up old history, deflect blame, and construct elaborate arguments just to avoid simple truth. You can't heal someone by letting them break you. Walk away, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about yourself. You'll say, "I feel hurt when you do X." And suddenly, you're defending something you said 3 years ago. This isn't communication. It's manipulation. They're not trying to understand you. They're trying to defeat you. Then comes the illusion problem. When someone has built a fantasy version of themselves that doesn't match reality, they see themselves as the perfect partner while displaying toxic behaviors every single day. And anyone who challenges that illusion becomes the enemy. They're not in love with you. They're in love with the story they've written. A story where they're always the hero, and you're either the side character or the villain depending on the day. Pay attention to the power grab dynamic. When someone feels they have complete control over you, their attraction dies. Desire needs tension. It needs mystery. It needs some level of unpredictability. But once they know you'll tolerate anything, once they're certain you won't leave, the chemistry evaporates. They might stay for comfort, for convenience, but the real attraction, you become furniture. Useful, but not exciting. After a breakup, their behavior isn't guided by logic. It's driven by emotion. One day they miss you desperately. The next, they hate you. These aren't calculated moves. They're emotional reactions. Raw, impulsive, and chaotic. They'll send a long apology text at 3 a.m., then block you by noon. That's not love. That's emotional instability playing out in real time. Here's something most people don't understand: the biochemical shift after infidelity. When someone becomes intimate with another person, there's an actual chemical bond that forms. Oxytocin, dopamine, connection. Suddenly, their emotional loyalty shifts. That instant attachment you feel, it's not just psychological, it's biological. Their body has literally bonded to someone else, and no conversation can change that chemistry. Modern society has normalized weak responses to betrayal. We treat emotional violations like minor inconveniences. Everyone makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect. But this isn't about perfection. It's about respect. When you tolerate betrayal, you're teaching them that your boundaries are suggestions, not requirements. A strong response to disrespect isn't toxic. It's necessary. It's how you maintain self-worth. Both partners can become addicted to the dysfunction cycle, the ignoring, the chasing, the dramatic reconciliation. It creates dopamine hits that mimic love, but it's not love. It's addiction. You're no longer in love with the person. You're addicted to the roller coaster. Real love is calm, stable, secure. If you need constant drama to feel connected, that's not love. That's chemical dependency. Healthy individuals have what I call moral fuses, internal stops that prevent them from crossing certain lines. But some people lack these completely. They don't stop themselves from flirting because it feels wrong. They stop only if they might get caught. Without internal restraint, betrayal isn't a possibility. It's an inevitability, just waiting for the right opportunity. If someone constantly contradicts themselves, lies about small things, rewrites history to fit the moment, they cannot be trusted. This isn't about one mistake. It's about patterns. When someone shows you they're comfortable with deception, believe them. Ignoring them might change their behavior for a while, but it will never change their character. People often repeat what they saw growing up. If their mother manipulated to get attention, they'll likely do the same. It's not intentional. It's programmed. They're playing a script they learned in childhood, and you're the latest actor cast in their story. Understanding this doesn't mean accepting it. You're not their therapist. You can't heal their childhood wounds. Some individuals only feel alive through crisis. To them, stability feels like death. They'll manufacture problems, start fights, create drama, anything to generate the emotional intensity they crave. They're not trying to solve problems. They're trying to create them. Peace makes them anxious. Calm makes them restless. They need chaos, like others need air. Watch for the projection pattern. When they cause problems, They'll position themselves as the victim. You become the aggressive one for setting boundaries. You're controlling for expecting consistency. You're abusive for not accepting their chaos. It's a complete reversal. The person causing harm paints themselves as the one being harmed. Logic doesn't work during emotional storms. You can't reason with someone operating purely on feelings and defensiveness. It's like trying to solve a math problem. With poetry, you're using the wrong tool for the job. When someone is in emotional chaos, your logical explanations become ammunition for their victimhood story. Then there's the caretaker trap. That's when you become responsible for managing their emotions. You're constantly apologizing, explaining, fixing their moods. But here's what happens. You stop being their partner and become their emotional janitor. And nobody's attracted to their janitor. The more you try to fix them, the less they respect you. The more you accommodate their chaos, the more chaotic they become. Some people were raised to believe the world should accommodate their feelings. And when reality doesn't match that expectation, they don't adjust their expectations. They punish reality. They'll punish you emotionally for not reading their mind, for not anticipating their needs, for not managing their emotions for them. It's entitlement masquerading as emotional need. The paradox of ignoring unstable individuals is that it can make them obsess over you, not out of love, but out of addiction to the chaos. They're not thinking about you fondly. They're craving the dopamine hit of conflict and resolution. You become their drug, not their beloved. They'll chase you relentlessly, but it's not romance. It's addiction seeking its fix. Many relationships unconsciously recreate childhood dynamics. You become a stand-in for their father. They're replaying arguments from decades ago. You're not fighting about dinner plans, and you're fighting their parents' war from 19. You can't win a battle that started before you even met them. In toxic dynamics, whoever shows emotional detachment first gains control. Being offended becomes a power move, not a genuine feeling. It's strategic emotional manipulation. I'm hurt really means, now you have to chase me. I need space means, now you have to prove your love. Every emotional expression becomes a tactical maneuver in a war for control. The seesaw dynamic creates artificial dependence. When you pursue, they pull away. When you retreat, they pursue. Interest only exists in the gap between you. It's not love, it's a psychological pattern, where attraction requires distance. The moment you're fully present, they lose interest. The moment you're gone, they suddenly care. Ignoring someone might regain their attention, but it will never restore trust. It will never create genuine connection. Some people mistake absence for affection and conflict for passion. They think the intensity of the chase means love, but it's just activation of their abandonment wounds. You can't build a healthy relationship on a foundation of emotional manipulation. Emotional illiteracy is when someone confuses intensity with intimacy. They think if there's no drama, there's no connection. Fighting feels like passion. Chaos feels like chemistry. They'll create problems just to feel something because they've never learned what healthy love feels like. They're emotionally colorblind, unable to see the full spectrum of genuine connection. The biggest mistake, trying to find logic in fundamentally illogical behavior. You're looking for reasons where there are only reactions. You're seeking patterns in chaos. You're trying to understand what can't be understood, because it doesn't come from thought. It comes from damage. Stop trying to make sense of senselessness. Some people are simply incompatible with stable relationships. It's not your job to fix them. It's not your job to heal them. It's not your job to teach them how to love. Your job is to recognize the patterns and protect yourself. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. You can't teach someone who refuses to learn. You can't love someone into mental health. Here's how you know it's time to leave. When you spend more energy managing their emotions than living your life. When every day feels like defusing a bomb. When you can't remember the last time you felt peaceful in your own home. When you're walking on eggshells in your own relationship. When their presence brings anxiety, not comfort. The clarity moment comes when you finally realize you're not in a relationship, you're in a psychological battlefield. Every interaction is strategic. Every conversation is a potential fight. Every moment of peace is just the calm before the next storm. That's not love. That's warfare. And you can win a war against someone who's fighting themselves. The boundaries conversation, it's simple. You need them, and you need to keep them. And toxic people will always violate your boundaries. Not occasionally, not accidentally, consistently, deliberately. They'll test every limit, push every line, and then blame you for having them. A person who can't respect your boundaries can't respect you, and someone who can't respect you can't love you. Self-respect is the foundation. Every time you accept unacceptable behavior, you're telling yourself you're worth less than peace. Every time you tolerate intolerable treatment, you're agreeing that this is what you deserve. It's not just about them disrespecting you. It's about you disrespecting yourself by staying. Power in relationships shouldn't be about control. It should be about mutual respect and contribution. But when you're with someone who sees love as a power struggle, you only have two choices. Engage in the war, or walk away. Fighting feeds the dysfunction. Walking away is the only victory possible. Attachment isn't about being cold or cruel. It's about self-preservation. You're not abandoning them. You're saving yourself. You're not giving up. You're choosing peace. You're not weak for leaving. You're strong for recognizing what needs to be done. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for both of you is leave. Communicate your exit clearly, not to convince them, not to get closure. Those are fantasies. Do it for you, to remind yourself why you're leaving. Write it down if you need to. I'm leaving because this relationship has become destructive to my mental health. Simple, clear, non-negotiable. The refusal to negotiate with chaos is your superpower. You don't need to explain why their behavior is unacceptable. It just is. You don't need to justify wanting peace. It's a basic human need. You don't need permission to protect your sanity. It's your fundamental right. Here's what happens when you leave. They'll cycle through every emotion possible. Love bombing, anger, bargaining, threats, promises of change. This isn't transformation. It's panic. Panic at losing control. The person who couldn't be bothered to treat you right suddenly can't live without you. Don't fall for it. It's not love. It's desperation to keep the status quo. The promises of change are seductive. I'll go to therapy.
I understand now.
I'll never do it again. But real change takes years of consistent effort, not desperate promises made in fear of abandonment. Anyone can promise change. Few do the work, and you are not obligated to wait and find out which they'll be. Society will pressure you to work things out. They'll say, every relationship takes work. Nobody's perfect. True. But there's a difference between normal challenges and toxic dysfunction. Working on communication is healthy. Working on surviving emotional abuse is not. Know the difference. Friends and family will have opinions, advice, judgments, but they don't wake up to your chaos. They don't feel your anxiety. They don't carry your emotional exhaustion. Your decision must be based on your reality, not their expectations. The financial excuse keeps many people trapped. We have a lease. We share accounts. It's too complicated to leave. But what's the price of your sanity? What's the cost of your peace? Money can be sorted out. Mental damage is harder to repair. Don't let logistics trap you in psychological torture. The children argument is serious, but often misunderstood. Staying for the kids in a toxic home doesn't help them. It teaches them that love equals suffering. They learn relationship patterns by watching you. So ask yourself, what do you want them to learn? That love means pain, or that self-respect means leaving. Then there's the fear of loneliness. What if I don't find anyone else? What if this is as good as it gets? But being alone and peaceful is infinitely better than being coupled and chaotic. Loneliness is temporary. The damage from staying is permanent. The sunk cost fallacy traps even the strongest. We've been together 5 years. I've invested so much, but time invested in dysfunction doesn't make it functional.
You won't get those years back by staying.
You'll only lose more. Cut your losses. The moment of clarity often comes in silence. When you're away from them and your shoulders finally relax. When you realize you've been holding your breath for months. When you remember what peace feels like. That contrast shows you exactly what the relationship was doing to you. The recovery period is intense. You'll doubt yourself. You'll miss them. You'll replay the good memories. That's normal. Your brain is detoxing from emotional chaos. Stay strong. Clarity will come. And when it does, you'll wonder why you stayed so long. The pattern recognition you gain is priceless. Once you've been through this, you'll spot the red flags early. You'll recognize the tactics, the manipulation, the emotional warfare. You'll see it before it starts, and walk away before it costs you peace. This pain becomes your protection, your wisdom, your armor. Then comes rebuilding, the part where you rediscover yourself, where peace becomes your baseline, not your reward, where you remember that love should feel like safety,
Not survival.
You start to remember what you enjoyed before the chaos. You reconnect with friends you'd isolated from. You rediscover hobbies you'd abandoned.
You realize just how much of yourself
You gave up trying to manage someone else's dysfunction. The standards elevation is natural and necessary. After experiencing chaos, you value peace differently. After enduring disrespect, you appreciate respect more. Your standards aren't too high. They're finally appropriate. Don't ever let anyone convince you to lower them again. Your approach to love changes completely. You're no longer chasing intensity and drama. You're seeking peace, stability, mutual respect. You understand now, real love is calm, consistent, secure. It doesn't demand you sacrifice your sanity. It doesn't require constant crisis management. The inherited toxicity patterns run deep. In some families, it's generational. Their mother had the same chaos, the same instability, the same manipulation, generational trauma passed down like a family heirloom nobody wants. Their grandmother probably drove their grandfather crazy, the same way they're driving you crazy now. You're not just dealing with their issues, you're facing 3 generations of dysfunction. The narcissistic adaptation is real too. Some people didn't become this way from trauma, but from being treated like royalty. Every tantrum was indulged. Every demand was met. Every emotion was validated as fact. They learned the world should bend to their feelings. Now, they expect to give the same unconditional accommodation their parents did. But you're not their parent, and they're not a child anymore. The false urgency they create around everything is exhausting. Every issue is an emergency. Every feeling is a crisis. Every inconvenience becomes a catastrophe. They can't tell the difference between real danger and momentary discomfort. And you end up living in a constant state of alert. Your nervous system never relaxes. You exist in fight or flight mode, and that literally damages your brain over time. Those stress hormones are aging you faster than years ever could. Here's the ultimate truth. You cannot build a healthy relationship with an unhealthy person. You can't create stability with someone committed to chaos. You can't find peace with someone addicted to war. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for both of you is walk away. The decision framework is simple. Ask yourself, does this relationship add to my life or subtract from it? Do I feel better or worse than before I met them? Am I growing or shrinking? Am I becoming more myself or losing myself? The answers tell you everything, and the action step is clear, but never easy. If you recognize these patterns, if you're exhausted from the chaos, if you've tried everything and nothing changes, it's time to go. Not next month, not after the holidays, not when it's convenient. Now, because every day you stay is another day of damage you'll need to heal from later. Your responsibility is to yourself first. You can't save someone who's drowning by drowning with them. You can't heal someone's wound by letting them wound you. You can't fix someone's chaos by sacrificing your peace. Your first responsibility is to protect your own mental health and your own well-being. The final message is this: leaving doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you selfish. It doesn't make you a failure. It makes you someone who values themselves enough to protect their peace. It makes you someone who refuses to accept the unacceptable. It makes you someone who chooses peace over chaos, even when it's hard. You deserve a relationship that brings joy, not anxiety. You deserve a partner who adds to your peace, not destroys it. You deserve love that feels safe, not dangerous. And if your current relationship doesn't give you that, you deserve to leave and find something better. The strength to leave comes from understanding this truth. You're not abandoning them. You're choosing yourself. You're not giving up on love. You're giving up on dysfunction. You're not weak for walking away. You're strong for recognizing what needs to be done and doing it. I want to hear from you. What patterns did you recognize in your own relationship? What was your moment of clarity? What finally gave you the strength to leave? Or what's keeping you stuck? Share your story in the comments, because sometimes seeing others who've walked this path is the courage we need to take our first step toward freedom.